It's a lot of hard work. So for me, I think my fitness regime boils down to just one line. I need to keep moving. It doesn't matter what I do, but I just need to constantly keep myself active. And I've been a yoga practitioner for over 25 years of my life. I actually found yoga quite early in life when I was in my teens. It was one of the best things to happen to me. I won Miss India and Miss Universe when I was in my very early 20s. I was 21 years old. And at that time, you're kind of like footloose and fancy free. You're building your life. You kind of look at life through rose tinted glasses. You haven't had enough experience, but the world is your oyster, and you've been given a gift from the universe that is the most incredible thing that you'll receive in your life. So I think for me in my 20s, it was really about leaving myself open to experience. I wanted to forget everything, the conditioning that I had been given, whether it was in my education system or whether it was, just from your cultural backgrounds. I wanted to not forget them, but I wanted to bring that, but leave myself open to all kinds of possibilities that would come my way, every kind of experience that I would have as Miss Universe. And I think that was the best thing that I could have done for myself in my 20s, because it gave me a chance to grow as a person and to have the most incredible experience that any 21-year-old can ever ask for in their life. I mean, I've had the opportunity of sitting down with presidents and prime ministers and sitting at the UN Assembly along with all the other goodwill ambassadors from across the world and addressing the Harvard AIDS Institute on the HIV/AIDS crisis in Southeast Asia. I mean, I was 21, I knew nothing about these things. But I think the fact that I chose to be fearless, I chose to be okay with making mistakes, I chose to be fine to let people know that I am a 21-year-old and I have a long way to go and I don't have all the answers. I think that gave me the opportunity to do a lot. In my 30s, well, I decided it was time to find Mr. Right and settle down and get married. I was very clear that I didn't want to marry anybody from my film fraternity. I wanted to, be exposed or have somebody in my life who was also self-made, who also knew what hard work was, had a certain amount of discipline, and well, as everybody knows and as history goes, Mr. Mahesh Bhupati and I found each other and got married and had a wonderful daughter. In my 40s today, I feel like my priorities are different. My daughter's 10 years old. I've finally been able to reclaim my life a little bit for myself. I've never labeled myself. I've gone from being a beauty queen to being an actor to being a producer and today now to being an entrepreneur, like you wonderful ladies yourself. And I know how difficult it is. That transition doesn't come easy. There are a lot of times where you doubt yourself a lot. You stay up nights wondering whether you're making the right decision. You live with the guilt of, neglecting your family, your husband, your child. And we as women always tend to put ourselves last and everybody else first. So I went through exactly the same scenario, the exact same things. But I think for me, the most important role in transition has always been to just take that leap of faith. If you don't take that leap of faith, you'll never know whether that opportunity was waiting right there for you to push that door open or not.
Very beautifully said, Lara. Your words are as beautiful as you are. I must compliment you, you looking ravishing. And with this, I think the next question is, which I'm sure everyone in the audience wants to know, what is your fitness regime like? And what are your food habits like? And do models and actors have to follow a very strict diet to look this good?
Yeah, actors now, this new generation of actors that is there, they're a different breed. I don't think we worked even half as hard as they work. And I have to be honest with you, as I'm getting older in life, I'm getting lazier and it's just getting harder and harder and harder to stick with the discipline. But there are no shortcuts, there are no quick remedies. I can promise you I don't get up looking like this. Preeti walked into my room about 2 hours ago and saw me in my tracksuit, getting ready with my hair and makeup. So this is how we emerge. It takes a small village of people to get us looking like this. But at the end of the day, we're public figures, we're celebrities, so there's an image that you have to live up to. But it's a lot of hard work. So for me, I think my fitness regime boils down to just one line. I need to keep moving. It doesn't matter what I do, but I just need to constantly keep myself active. And I've been a yoga practitioner for over 25 years of my life. I actually found yoga quite early in life when I was in my teens. It was one of the best things to happen to me. But I've also, it doesn't matter. You're going to meet some wonderful people over the next couple of days. Samir Purohit, a really dear friend of mine who's a Pilates instructor. Luke Coutinho, who's one of these most wonderful nutritionists, health experts. So these are all people that I've met and I've worked with at some point of time in my life. But I think for me, the most important thing is understanding that I'm not going to look today at 40 the way that I looked on stage when I won Miss Universe at 21. There's no way. So I think it's about also being kind to yourself a little bit, about loving the imperfections as well, but not giving up on yourself either. Like, I know a lot of women who say, my God, I've put on so much weight, it's the point of no return. So you know what? Let it go. I am now just going to live my life. And they make peace with the self that I love myself the way I am. I'm just going to live my life. Size doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter. But if in your mind it matters to you somewhere, that little niggling is happening, then all it takes is to get up and start moving. It doesn't matter what exercise you're doing, just that you're doing it.
When we are talking about looks, this is a age of Instagram, Facebook, social media, where there's a rage about obesity. While body shaming is a deeply inconsiderate act, there is also a danger when we celebrate obesity. So what is your take on it, and how do we maintain a balance?
All I want to say is I'm so glad that social media didn't exist when I was Miss Universe or Miss India or even starting off as an actor, because our lives were much simpler. We didn't spend 23 hours out of 24 hours photographing ourselves and photographing what we were eating and photographing my earring and my shoe. I mean, it's exhausting. I understand that we have to do it. And yes, I photographed my outfit before I left the hotel today, because I know the designer I'm wearing would be very happy to see the photographer. But I'm not somebody who enjoys it. I really find it absolutely exhausting to do. And I think that what is being projected out on Instagram and social media is such an unrealistic, world and a picture of how perfect your life is supposed to be. You don't have to be a celebrity. Even ordinary people, they're posting the best of their life. Nobody posts the worst of their life, which is pretty much 90% of our lives, but nobody posts that. And I was very deeply saddened recently when we had our current reigning Miss Universe, who's also Miss India, when she was in India for her homecoming, and the amount of negativity she was getting on social media, because yes, she may have put on a little bit more weight than what she was when she won the contest. But you have to understand that before you go to win that contest, the amount of hard work you do for 3 to 6 months, you're almost starving yourself to go and win that. There's no way to sustain it. So for me, I genuinely believe, Preeti, when people post negative comments against somebody, the only person that you're really harming is yourself, because you're constantly telling yourself that I'm not good enough. You're creating an unrealistic reality in your head about what you're supposed to live up to, which doesn't exist. So you're not actually spewing hate towards the person that you're writing to. You're actually just constantly psychologically telling yourself that I'm just not good enough, which I really think needs to stop. So social media, I'm all for it, but I think that it needs to be used with a great amount of responsibility.
My next question is, being a public figure and being in the spotlight all the time can have a strange equation as a mother. you know, mother, child, and paparazzi, then how does one give a normal childhood to the children?
See, to my child, it's ghar ki murgi dal barabar. Her mother doesn't, she doesn't care who her mother is or what she did, or 22 years ago she won a contest and wore a crown, and none of this matters to Saira. Saira honestly didn't even realize what her mother does until she was about 4 years old. I was shooting Sing is Bling with Mr. Akshay Kumar, and I took Saira with me to the shoot in Goa. And we were shooting this song, which I'm sure some of you are aware of, called Choo Cha Choo Cha. The reason there's a specific step in that song, which is like a classic, which is like some one-footed thing. The reason that that step came about is because my foot was fractured. It was in a cast and I couldn't move. And Akshay said, लेकिन हम गाना तो शूट करना ही है, तो एक ऐसा स्टेप करते कि तुम एक पैर पे नाचो. So that step came out only because I was dancing on one foot. But we were on the beach in Goa shooting this, and my daughter came to the set to visit me, and I could see it in her eyes. Suddenly, one bulb went off. She was like, oh, this is what my mother does. And now, of course, she's become my biggest critic. And she's horrible because she's also, I mean, she has no filter, right? It's like it's mom. So when I'm leaving the house, she's like, is this what you're wearing? You're going to go out like this? You don't look nice. I'm like, but I have no time to change. You know, I'm sorry, but I'm going to go out like this. But this is making you look fat. You know, so I mean, it's horrible. It's like a wake up call like you never thought God was going to give you. It's like a fatka that He decided to give you a reality check with. But yes, it's tough in our business to raise a child with the right kind of grounding. And I think in this matter, that is the reason that I wanted to choose somebody in my life as a life partner who understands what hard work is and understands hunger and understands, and who also came from very humble beginnings. So both Mahesh and I, firstly, we made a, before I even had a child, before we had a child, we made a pact that when we have our kid, one parent will always be with her. So both of us are working professionals. When I go away on location to a shoot, Mahesh is actually a great dad and he's with her 24/7. When he was working and he was still a professional tennis player and still on tour, I actually took a sabbatical from my acting career and stayed with my daughter 24/7. So one parent is always with Saira. Paparazzi culture, something very new, never existed when I first came into the industry. And I know what I signed on for, but my child didn't sign on that. But I think in India, we have a very peculiar culture with our press and our paparazzi. Nowhere else in the world, not in Hollywood, nowhere do we cut birthday cakes with the paparazzi. We don't invite, they don't invite paparazzi to their wedding and give them mithais, whereas we do. You know, so I think we're just different as a culture. And I think our paparazzi, in a way, it's a codependency that exists. So there are times where Saira was very small and I would get out at the airport or get out at someone's birthday party and the paps would be there and I would say, I'll give you a photo, give me 2 minutes, let me put her inside and come back out. And they respected that. You know, so I think maybe in that way I'm fortunate that I'm not hounded by them, but it's also the way that you interact with them.
Let's talk about Bollywood. I'm sure everyone is waiting for that. So when you were crowned Miss Universe, you were very young. Then you joined the film industry and you didn't have a background. How was it in the beginning and how was your first day at shoot?
So, you know, there's no other way to put it. I was a real buddhu. I come from a services background. We're 3 generations of pilots. My grandfather was a pilot. My father was in the Indian Air Force. My sister's in the Indian Air Force. My brother-in-law, who's here with me today, was also in the Indian Air Force. You know, so, I mean, flying was in our blood. And हमारी मतलब पास टाइम ये होती थी कि शाम को ना संडे के दिन या सैटरडे के दिन एयरफोर्स स्टेशन में एक पिक्चर लगाई जाती थी जो हम लोग जाते थे मेस में देखने. तो और वो पिक्चर भी कोई नई वाली पिक्चर नई रिलीज नहीं थी, वो थी भी कोई 1974 की पिक्चर या ऐसे कुछ. बट यू नो दोज आर द थिंग्स वी ग्रू अप watching that kind of cinema. So I never harbored in my head or in my heart that I want to be an actress when I grow up. For me, Bollywood happened purely by chance after Miss Universe. And I still remember my first day's shoot. I had signed a wonderful film called Andaz, which was directed by the late Raj Kavarji. It starred Akshay Kumar, Priyanka Chopra, and myself. It was a very big announcement because a Miss World and a Miss Universe were going to be in a film together for the first time. So I was very excited, and Manish Malhotra was doing my clothes. I mean, you can't understand. Today, Manish is a dear friend, but in those days, it was like you had arrived. It was the ultimate thing. So the first shot that we did was actually a song for the film. And we were shooting the whole day, and there was this young boy, like lots of pimples on his face. He must have been like 16 years old or something. And every time in between the shots, whenever they would say cut, this boy would come behind me like this and say, "Madam, आपको boy चाहिए, आपको boy चाहिए, madam, आपको boy चाहिए." And I said, यार ये क्या बदतमीजी है? So I ignored it. I thought, शायद मुझसे बात नहीं कर रहा है, किसी और से बात कर रहा है, क्या पता. फिर बाद में 2 बार हुआ, 3 बार हुआ. Every time there was a break, this boy was coming. मैडम आपको boy चाहिए, boy चाहिए. Finally I lost it. तो मैंने मुड़ के उसको एक लाफा मारा कि बदतमीज, तुझे शर्म नहीं आती? क्या boy चाहिए, boy चाहिए? And Akshay is looking at me saying, क्या तू पागल हो गई है क्या? I said, फिर क्या करूं? ये मेरे पीछे पड़ा हुआ है. बॉय चाहिए क्या? मैं बैंकॉक में हूं क्या कि बॉय चाहिए बोला जा रहा है? He said, बॉय मतलब स्पॉट बॉय. बेवकूफ, हर एक्टर के पास में स्पॉट बॉय रहता है. ये बेचारे को काम चाहिए, ये तुझसे काम मांग रहा है. So I had no clue that there was something called a spot boy. मुझे ऐसा कुछ पता नहीं था. Spot boy is very integral part of your life. You don't understand. Your spot boy is like the keeper of all your secrets. You have the same spot boy throughout your entire career. He knows everything about you, everything about your home, everything about, like, he keeps all your jewelry, he holds your chata, he gives you your pani and your juice. He's like your shadow and your conscience. So ये बेचारे को काम चाहिए था, लेकिन obviously मेरा थोड़ा सा cross connection हुआ था उस वक्त.
You know, I have always wondered and wanted to ask you this. In the West, there is a clear professional line between an actor and a model. But why is it Bollywood is a natural career choice for all beauty pageant winners in India?
See, I'll tell you honestly, when I won in 2000 and when I returned to India, there were only 2 choices, which give you the same kind of profile or the same kind of stature or the same kind of, aura that I was used to now as Miss Universe. It was either Bollywood or politics. I don't think I'm cut out for politics. So I think now, many years later and with a lot more experience, you never know. But at that point of time in my 20s, I was definitely not cut out for politics. So I think, like I said, Bollywood was the default choice of career.
Who are the actors you revere and who inspire you the most? Female actors.
So for me today, my icons that I really love. Firstly, I think with the advent of OTT platforms in India, with all the different, like Netflix, Amazon, there's so many, Z5, Boot, it's completely changed the entire dynamic for female actors in the country. Today, women like me in our 40s, I'm doing better work today than I actually did in the last decade of my life. And the characters are better written. They are more identifiable. We're no longer expected to be the long sacrificing mother or the pativrata, wife. Or we're not supposed to be, the बहन जिसके हाथ पे वो भाई के हाथ पे राखी बांधती है. And earlier on, those were the only projections of women on screen. You were either the hero's wife, or his girlfriend, or his mother, or his sister. And you always had to live up to this ideal that didn't exist. And if it wasn't film, then it was television. And then you were either the bahu who just wasn't getting it right, or you were the saas who was just the overbearing saas. So there was no other representation for women on screen. And today that has changed drastically. I mean, today I've played characters on screen that are unapologetically ambitious, that are diabolical, that are maybe having an extramarital affair. that are vulnerable, that are going through, mental issues. So there is a relatability. When you're watching these women on screen, you can actually feel and say, I feel like this woman is speaking to me. So I think the game changers that came before us were wonderful actresses like Neena Gupta ji, to do a film like Badhai Ho, in her 50s, almost going into her 60s, like Ratna Pathak Shah ji, who did an incredible Lipstick Under Your Burqa and played a character, who actually had her own desires or her own, just to be able to discover and explore that. So I give actors like this so much credit because it's because of them that today in our 40s, we're working as much as we are today.
So my next question is, Bollywood of late is focusing on biopics. You've done some fantastic work playing Indira Gandhi. But tell us, what are the challenges that you face by playing such a prominent role about whom most people have a point of view?
So I'll tell you the backstory of playing Mrs. Gandhi for Bell Bottom. We all went into lockdown in March of 2020. The entire film industry came to a standstill. There was nothing. Nobody knew, there were no vaccines, so there was no light at the end of the tunnel. Nobody knew how to function in the new setup. Everybody was terrified. And I was sitting in my house in lockdown in May of 2020, and my phone rang and it said Aki, which is how I refer to Akshay. So I have picked up my phone and Akshay has said to me, क्या कर रही है? तेरी हाइट क्या है? मेरी हाइट क्या है? नहीं तो 5'10" की है ना? I said, no, I'm not 5'10", Akshay. We've done like 10 films together. हाँ तो क्या है तेरी हाइट? I said, I'm 5'8". हाँ तो वही तो हुआ ना? I said, अच्छा बोल ना, चाहिए क्या? तो he said, तू ना, मैं एक फिल्म कर रहा हूँ, तू ना उसमें इंदिरा गांधी बन जा. And I'm like, Akshay, are you bored? और किसी का नंबर नहीं मिला क्या आज मेरी बारी है कि इसको फ़ोन करके मैं आज इसकी टांग खींचूंगा. एंड ही वाज लाइक, नहीं, क्यों नहीं करना है तुझे? तो आई स्टार्टेड लाफिंग एंड आई सेड, वेयर इज द रिजेम्बलेंस? And he was like, I said, apart from the fact that I'm sitting at home now in the lockdown and my hair has gone white because I can't go to the parlor to touch it up, I said, apart from that, there is no resemblance. अच्छा तेरे बाल सफ़ेद हो गए? फोटो भेज. I was like, तो पागल है. So I have to be honest. When I realized that he was being serious about it, I think for every actress, it's a dream to be able to portray Mrs. Gandhi on screen. It's like an opportunity of a lifetime. But once the euphoria of that finishes, the responsibility of it sets in, and it's very scary. And like you said, Preeti, this lady is iconic.
Sure.
She has been documented through history. So for a female actor, if you don't get it right, your career is over. There is no halfway. I can't portray my version of Mrs. Gandhi on screen. It doesn't work like that. So it was a lot of preparation. Of course, I had the most amazing prosthetics team with Vikram Gaikwad, who's a national award-winning makeup artist and prosthetics artist. He created this entire look for me. And I have to be honest, the first time that I looked at myself in the mirror in my look test, I couldn't believe who I was looking at. I mean, I had to really look into my eyes to find Lara somewhere in that face. But then there was a lot of other things also. There was watching hours and hours of Mrs. Gandhi's interviews, her footage, watching her body language, the way she moved her eyes, the way she used her hands, the way she sat, the way she spoke, the way she commanded something. It was very, very minute. And she was not a loud, expressive person. She was very restrained. She was, very in control of every situation that was there. Then it was also understanding the socio-political scenario at that time, because Bell Bottom was based on a true story. It happened in 1984, the same year as Mrs. Gandhi was assassinated. There was a lot going on around her. So what was her mental state at that time? How would she have reacted if she had gotten news of a hijack? It was understanding, literally going into the mind of her to understand how that would be played. But I'm extremely grateful and so blessed for all the appreciation and love that has come from the audience for Bell Bottom and especially for that role. That it's been one of the greatest highs of my career.
Fantastic. Are we seeing you in some Bollywood movies? What are the projects in line? Can you tell us more about what is in pipeline for us?
So yes, unfortunately, you can't be done with me yet. So I actually go back tomorrow, and I'm starting a new film tomorrow itself. Speaking of Neena Gupta ji, it's the first time that I will be working alongside her. So I'm really excited. She's going to be in the film along with me. So I'm doing two films this year. One that I start tomorrow, another one that I'm producing myself as well. And I have two web series this year. One is the second season of Hiccups and Hookups for Lionsgate.
Wow, wow.
And the second one is based on, I can't tell you, but on true events that were very important and crucial event, which was a very important and crucial event for this country. So, yes.
So my next question is, what can be done to achieve greater integration of ideas and people for Hindi and regional cinemas?
So I think it's fantastic, and I love the fact that today we also have a lot of vernacular OTT platforms. So content, it's incredible. We have 43 platforms today, and you have content being made continuously, and you have some incredible regional content being made. So I think it's very important to support, filmmakers, writers, producers, artists who tell culturally, regionally rich cinema. And a lot of times you will see that, so many films, especially films from the South, films for us like Sairat, that came as Maharashtrian cinema, but then were made into, worldwide amazing releases that happened. So you have some real wonderful gems and stories to be told. And I think it's very important to pick up these subjects and tell these stories.
Let's talk about investments. When you started earning, you were very young. But when is it that you realized that managing money is as important as managing in your career? And when did you start investing?
So I think for me, one of the big reasons of continuing to work is, yes, acting is my passion. I love doing what I do. But I think it's very important for me, for my daughter to see me working. I think it's important for her to realize that it's good and important for you to have your own dreams as a woman, for you to have your own ambitions, and for you to be able to be financially independent and earn your own money. I want her to see this. She doesn't like it. Yesterday, well, every day, but yesterday because I was going to leave early this morning. Where are you going? She's like the CIA. Where are you going? When are you coming back? Which place is it? Why are you going? What are you going to be doing there? But she also understood that this was very important for mom to be able to go out and do this because I was so happy. She could see that I was happy to come here. And I want her to feel that kind of passion, regardless of where she chooses to do whatever it is that she wants to follow. And Preeti, to be honest, I call myself, from the time I was a kid, I used to call myself, or my family used to call me, कि she's a squirrel. Why am I a squirrel? क्योंकि अगर मुझे 5 रुपए मिलते थे, मैं वो 5 रुपए को लेके कहीं छुपा लेती. मैं खर्च नहीं करती. मैं ना कहीं पे इसको कुछ कबड़ के अंदर, कपड़े के नीचे, ड्रॉ के अंदर, उसके पीछे कुछ बॉक्स के अंदर. I used to love saving money. So my family used to tell me that you're from a Banya family. You're the only one who's ever going to have money in this family because nobody else can hang on to it. And I'm telling you, this is actually the truth. Today in hindsight, it is very important to save. I can't stress this enough.
Very true. So this is an age of startups. Have you invested in any startups?
Yes.
What are the key points you see to invest in a project?
So I think for me, the important part really is, does it resonate with me? Is it something that I would use? Is it something that I understand? So, today everybody is hearing about metaverse and cryptocurrency, and they're all fantastically great things. And I was very intrigued as well. But I couldn't understand when people were talking about crypto and about the metaverse. It sounded like they were speaking Greek. So I actually went and I did a master class in cryptocurrency because you never stop learning, right? It was very important for me to know whether that's like going to be the next big thing. Am I supposed to put some amount of my money in there? So my husband loves the crypto world. He loves cryptocurrency, and he's always like, invest into it. And I'm like, okay, theek hai, I don't understand it right now, but I don't want him to turn around and tell me, see, maine bola tha na, tune suna nahi. So I said, okay, take 1/20th of my investment and put it in cryptocurrency. So you're happy. Fir kal jo bhi hoga, hoga, with whatever. So I think it's also understanding what is your capacity of risk taking. Like, I know what my capacity of risk taking is. My husband's capacity is much higher than mine. I don't have the stomach for that, but I also know that tomorrow when he loses it all, I'll be ready for the rainy day. So
So my next question is, what kind of progress is actual empowerment to businesswomen? Is it access to capital or gaining a skill or a complete fundamental shift in the society where women are seen outside gender?
So, to be honest, Preeti, I think it's an amalgamation of everything that you've said. I don't think that you can isolate any one thing. I'll tell you this. When I decided to turn producer, I had already been an actor in the business for almost, it's 18 years that I've been an actor now. So I was in the business for almost 10 years. And I had worked with the best of the best production houses. Yet, when I chose to become a producer, the same producers that were talking to me on a daily basis as an actor refused to entertain me as a producer. They were very happy to discuss creative ideas with me, but they were constantly looking over my shoulder to see if there was a man who was going to talk business. So we've come a long way since then. 3 years ago, when I decided it was finally time, I always wanted to do my own skincare range, and I finally decided that I had the time that it took to do the research and development and create my skincare brand, Arias. It was actually easier than it was when I was a producer, because I find that in the business field, there are a lot more people who are open to women entrepreneurs than in the film industry. So it was easier for me to actually go out there and raise, capital and raise investment and put out a product. And I'm completely involved, in it. And in 3 years' time, I've gone from skincare and fragrances to launching Arias Home with the Neel Kamal group now across 23 stores in India. In May, we're launching Arias Kids with First Cry. So today it is possible. And today you are believable. And today as a woman, people will back you. And I would say my goal is very simple. I am addressing the segment of women between the ages of 30 to 55, 60. I've got you covered, whether it's skincare, whether it's home, whether it's child. I want to make sure that I have brand Arias in every single household with a quality, affordable product. And I'm telling you, I'm working my feet off to make it happen.
So we're running short on time. So I have a quick rapid fire for you, which
Sure.
I call Know Your Lara. So is it mountains or beaches?
Mountains for me.
Chai or coffee?
Chai.
Favorite movie?
Life is beautiful.
Barf ka gola or sorbets?
Barf ka gola.
Favorite comfort food?
Biryani.
Favorite author?
My favorite author, very tough, but I would say favorite book from childhood, Little Women by Louisa May Alcott.
Amusement parks or animated studios?
Amusement parks.
Favorite city in the world?
Favorite city in the world, Jaisalmer.
And the last one, facing an unpleasant situation in life, to forgive or to space out?
If I face an unpleasant, do I forgive?
Or space out?
I think I first space out and then I forgive.
So now we come to an end of a wonderful talk show. I would request you to give a message to this wonderful audience who've been waiting to see you. And thank you very much for being a part of IWEX celebration. We are really grateful and you're very humble and gracious.
Thank you, Preeti. I'm sure this wasn't as hard as you imagined it would be.
Thank you, all for you.
pushing each other aside in order to be able to grab those opportunities. Today, I think that because we stand shoulder to shoulder and we push each other and lift each other up, we're actually creating more opportunities for ourselves. So I thank you. I hope I haven't bored you. I know that I can sometimes ramble a lot, but there's so many stories to tell. So thank you for your patience, thank you for your love, and thank you for having me here.